Hi, welcome to Conversations at the Effie, where we talk to interesting people in Kamloops. We're here situated on the unceded territory of the Kamloops Secwepemc at the Effie Arts Collective. Today with me I have David Langevin, artist. Can you remember the first time you picked up paints?
Yes, absolutely. I actually have a fun story around that because I found my very first painting when I was back home in Quebec a few years ago. It was in a closet, and my brother still lives in the home we grew up in. So I found a bunch of my art stuff from my childhood. And I did my first painting when I was about 5.5. And I know exactly how old I was because my birthday's in the summer, and two of my older sisters got these paint by number sets for Christmas. I don't know if you remember those old paint by number with the little oil painting, the little bottles of oil paint. So they each had a painting, and one was a waterfall. I remember it and the other one was a little cabin in the woods. And they were up there painting, and I was like, oh man, I have to get in on this, right? So, and they just kept shooing me away. And eventually they took a break, and I took the opportunity to jump up and finished both paintings as fast as I could before they came back. And I have one of those paintings in my studio now. I framed it up. And the other one, my sister had in her room for quite a long time. I don't know what happened to it. But that was my first, my first painting.
Was your family encouraging for your painting?
They were. And they were supportive and encouraging. So that was important to me.
A lot of people from out east come west here. How did you end up in Kamloops?
Yeah, I didn't want to be in Kamloops. I wanted to be out west. I wanted to be in the mountains. I wanted to be in BC. And I was having trouble getting my art career off the ground living in Montreal. So I literally had a couple of galleries tell me, looking at my stuff, and they said, you know what, you probably do better out west. So that was it. So that was, okay, sold everything, packed the car up, and out we came. And like a lot of people, you're kind of halfway between Calgary and Vancouver, so you stop in Kamloops for the night. That was it. 30 years ago, Aaron. 30 years ago this summer. That's what happened. Stopped in Kamloops, and I looked around, and I thought, this is one of the ugliest places I've ever seen. Literally. And it was August, and it was brown, and there was a fire burning on the hill across from Valley View. And and then I got offered a job the next day, and I said to my wife, "You want to live in Kamloops?" She said, "No." And the rest is history, as they say. Within 2 years, my art career was up and running full time, and I haven't looked back. It's been amazing.
What was the first beauty you found in the ugliness of Kamloops?
Maybe ugly. That's too harsh. It's different, right? Because when you're growing up down east, and this is before the internet, right? So whenever you saw commercials or pictures or TV shows or magazine photographs of BC and Alberta, you saw Lake Louise and Whistler and that sort of thing. I don't ever remember seeing the desert, the Canadian sort of BC interior desert landscape with the cactus and the ponderosa pines and the brownscape. Like, that was new to me. I was like, wow, I didn't even know this was here. So I was stumped for months. I couldn't paint it. I didn't know how to paint it. I didn't know what colors to use. I didn't know how to approach it. So I kind of played around with different ideas and styles and how I could bring my personal style and my voice and the way I handle paint. How could I translate into something with this landscape that would be appealing and make sense to me and something I want to do? It took me quite a while, and then I really found my groove with it, and I like painting this area now. The kind of thing about it is people who don't live here or understand it don't really appreciate it. So I can't make a painting of the desert landscape here and ship it off to Ottawa Gallery, because they're going to look at it and go, what is he living on Mars? What is this place? Like they can't relate to it, right? I can send them pictures of mountains and trees and lakes and stuff. So it's all Canadian, right? But yeah, no, this is unique. So it took me a while to get my head around to this. Yeah.
Was there a certain was there people that you met when you first moved to Kamloops that really helped you kind of settle in?
You mean art career-wise?
Yes, like for your career, you said it really took off when you came to Kamloops very quickly.
Yeah.
Was there people here that helped that?
Yeah. What I did is, when I got to Kamloops, I got a job, I think I was telling you, because when I was in Montreal, I was a part-time squash pro, because I'm a jock, right? That's one of my pastimes. I like playing sports. And so squash, the racket sport, like I was coaching in the evenings and weekends and stuff. So when I came out here, what I was doing is, as I was traveling across Canada, I always stop at the fitness clubs and the squash clubs, and I would contact the squash pro and go and have a game, right? When I got to Kamloops, I knew that they had a facility here, the biggest one in the interior for squash. It was Racquetteur Courts up by the TRU now. It's gone now, but and they had hosted the Western National Championships the year before, so I know they were a big club, and they were hosting the national championships the following year. So I said, oh, that must be a serious club. So I phoned them up, got to Kamloops that night, that evening from Calgary, got to Kamloops, looked around, said, that's a nasty place. So I phoned up the club that I'm talking about, and I said, can I talk to the squash pro? And the girl, the receptionist said, I'll just a minute. She handed the phone to the owner. The owner said, we don't have a squash pro. We're hiring, we're interviewing. As soon as he said that, I thought, oh crap, we're living in Kamloops. He offered me the job the next day, and that was it. So, but to get around to answering your question, I met lots of wonderful people at the squash club, and they got to know me as an artist as well, and they were really supportive. And when I did my first show at a little framing shop on Victoria Street, it was on the corner of Victoria and 6th, where that big condo building is now, I think. Mm-hmm. It's called Picture This. And Chidi and, what was her husband's name at the time? Anyway, I went and asked them if I could do a show there. And I had a collection of 30 some odd paintings that I had put together. And I had my first show in Kamloops there. And I sold all but one of them. And it was through the connections I had made at the squash club and all my friends and business people and I said, come on down to the show. And most of them ended up buying a painting. And that same year, the Hampton Gallery opened in Kamloops, down on 4th. And the owner saw my work and said, let's do it. And there you go.
What does Kamloops have that you can't get somewhere else?
So 30 years in Kamloops almost now. So there's a lot that's made me appreciate and want to stay here this long. It's a wonderful sized community and city. I spent a lot of years in Montreal and thinking I wanted to live in the big city, because big cities have a lot of cool stuff, right, that cities this size don't have. And I thought that's a lifestyle that I'm used to and appreciate, so I was on my way to Vancouver, right, because that was the next. But after being in Kamloops for a few years, I thought, no, I like this better. And it's like sitting in traffic for an hour and a half. It's like, yeah, I don't like doing that anymore. So I like the size of the city. I like the community-oriented feel of the city and the friendliness of the size of the city. One of the things that's been ideal for me as a landscape artist is the location. I mean, I'm right in the middle of everything that's so amazing about being a landscape painter in BC, right? So the Rockies are 4 hours this way and the coast is 3 hours that way, and everything in between is just so amazing. So the location is good, the size is good, the people are great. And you know, I'm so grateful that Kamloops got me off the ground. I mean, the support I got here, I mean, hundreds of paintings of mine have been sold here in Kamloops. It's a great art market, which was surprising to me. Like, I didn't think that would be, I thought it was more of a blue collar place, and but no, they appreciate art, and they're supportive, so that was amazing for me.
Is there something that Kamloops needs, do you think, that there's just one thing lacking that you think if we could get that everything would be just that much better?
For the art community?
Yes.
Be nice to have another gallery or two. That there's a couple of small independent nonprofit kind of galleries that, but yeah, it'd be nice to have another gallery that's got a wider reach and better marketing strategies and business model. I would like to see the Kamloops Art Gallery, which is an amazing facility, be more connected with the local community of artists and art programs.
Is it the opposite then? Because when a performing artist wants to succeed in their career, they have to go to a bigger center. So does a traditional painter need a smaller community then to succeed?
I don't know. I know lots of successful artists that live in big cities, so that can't be a criterion. Kamloops was worked really well for me because one of the things that, and it's changed a little bit, Aaron, now with the online, sort of with the internet and online sales, and the art market has moved in that direction. But you know, back in those days, you really wanted to grow your network and community and following close to home, and then you kind of expand out from there. So I developed a good following here in town of buyers and collectors and people that supported me. And then so when it was time to move out to bigger markets like Calgary and Vancouver and Montreal and such, I already had a good foundation, if that makes sense.
How can a stronger artist community come together? It seems like a lot of artists, you know, are in their different respective studios, and
Yeah.
you know, you're focusing your own stuff. How can we get more together to be aware of what's going on?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, Aaron, because that's something that's changed a lot over the years. And I learned my craft by studying the old masters, and I learned to paint in oils by studying, you know, the great painters of the Renaissance and Baroque periods. And in studying them, I came to learn that the art community and how it related to the rest of society was very different from what we experience today. And artists have been like an artist like Rubens, for example, right? He was so high up in society. Like he was courting all of the princes and kings and queens of Europe, and artists were regarded in a very different way back then. They were very highly respected and admired, and the last century kind of plus, it's been a very different. Artists are more like you say, they're kind of these weirdos off on the side, then they're isolated and they're by themselves back, and they don't have a strong sense of community like they used to have when the master apprentice studios were like a community hub of where art happened, and all the great artists and the education all happened there, and everything was centered around that, and everybody, like it was like the master studio and the artist studio in the town or city was like an important part of the culture and community. So that's not part of the way it worked. That's not really how it works so much anymore. So one of my dreams, and I kind of dropped it, but one of my dreams for Kamloops was to have a big community art studio. So I was going to, kind of like what you're doing here, only for the arts. I was going to buy or rent a space like this and have a big artist studio, which would have shows and events and lots of teaching and workshops and artists and really master professional artists from all over Canada would come there and host events and workshops and stuff. So that was my dream at one point about 20 years ago, and I never put it together. But there's a couple of, like the Community Arts Council does a really good job, I think, here in town. And sort of that kind of thing, but pulling it all together in a way like you're talking about, that's a really good question. And I'm going to just go back to what I said. I would like to see that happen through an organization like the Kamloops Art Gallery or something like, could be that hub, but I don't know if it's really working for them in that regard. I don't know. I don't have much to do with them, so.
Right. So them offering a place for actual working artists to come in and actually gather would be a great addition to the art gallery.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Do you think art is elitist? Do you need money to really enjoy art?
Art is getting more expensive like a lot of other things. And the last 2 years have been kind of my busiest in a while, as far as, because the art market is kind of piggybacking along with the stock market, the equities and real estate market, which is, gone way crazy. So art is getting more expensive. Having said that, I know so many artists and at all levels of art, and some of them, no, the answer to your question is no. There's artists having shows, and here in town there's a couple of artist organizations that host shows every couple of years, and you can get some really nice art for very good, affordable prices.
Are you worried that we're going to lose artists in the next generations as it gets harder to survive? Cost of living is going up, rent's going up, that people might be afraid to look at art as a viable career? Or do you think it's going to encourage artists, because if they're going to be broke, they might as well do what they like?
I think if I was starting out again, I wouldn't be afraid. And maybe because I understand how the art market works and I know how to be successful in it, so I really don't care what's happening in the art market. I know I can make it work. So, and that is a message I would tell to anybody starting out. I would say, I would say learn to create. Find your groove, find your voice, learn to create something that's really a good reflection of who you are. Like, let me back up a little bit and sort of reframe this. So you can find a way, and I know lots of artists that have done this, you can find a way to create art that's marketable and sellable, and you can find a market for this product. But if it's not a true reflection of who you are as an artist, and all you're doing is kind of like catering to the market, so to speak, and trying to find out what they want, and painting or sculpting or doing whatever it is to sell, that won't last. And it won't last for two reasons. Number one, when the market moves on and tastes change, you'll get left behind. And so you'll have to find something else to paint to fit that new fashion, whatever the new fashion is. The other reason it's not sustainable is because if you're not being true to yourself, it's really not fun. On a long-term basis, like I don't think it's sustainable in the sense that you won't be getting the fulfillment and joy out of it, and you'll get tired or burned out or frustrated. To answer your question, there's always going to be a place for art and artists, and the market's shifting, and like I've had to adapt to the new way of selling art. And I mean, for years I didn't want to be on social media, and I didn't want to have anything to, I didn't want a website. It's like, I want my galleries to do my marketing and sales and let them handle all that stuff, and I'm just going to paint and ship them out. But I've had to adapt to all that stuff, and so that stuff always changes. But people who are motivated and want to put the time and energy into being good at something, they'll always find a way to be successful.
If in the past you relied on the galleries to do all the work, do you think now that you have to be a bit more multifunctional, that you have to like learn how to then do marketing rather than spending all your time focusing on the creation? You have to really learn how to promote and sell and distribute?
I don't think you have to. I think what you have to do is, again, for it to be sustainable for you, you have to find, just in the same way that you have to find an art, a way of expressing yourself creatively that is a good fit for you. For it to be sustainable, it has to work for you, and it suit your personality and your strengths and weaknesses and all that. In the same way, when you're making a career of that and you want to have a business model, you have to think the same way. Your business model has to be a good fit for you, or it won't be sustainable. So I do lots of coaching and teaching and mentoring, and what I recommend is that find a business model that works for you. And the stuff that you're not good at, you find someone else to do it for you. And that could be a gallery or an agent or a partner or a business partner, whatever it is. And so, for example, if you're not really good at the social media, because that's a big deal with the art market now. So if you're not good at that stuff, if you're not good at all of the media stuff with photography and film and videos and stuff, then you delegate that, you pay someone to do it or whatever, and that's the way I would approach it.
It seems like a lot of the art we're enjoying now is we don't see the Mona Lisa. We see pictures of the Mona Lisa.
Right.
We see it on our computer.
Mm-hmm.
I would say 99% of the world has never actually seen the physical painting. Does the physical painting even matter anymore now that we have captured it in high resolution? Would you be able to create a piece of work, digitize it, and then shred the original?
And that's why, like we were talking about earlier, the art market and the art world is really changing and adapting to the digital age. So it's changed a lot about how paintings are viewed and sold and marketed, and so yeah, that's a factor. For me personally, I wouldn't do that. Because for me, I'd rather have the painting, because the painting is physical. Like anybody can see my paintings online, right? But everybody tells me when they see the painting in person and they get it up close and they get to touch it, and especially the paintings that have lots of texture, like it's a different experience. And so, yeah, no.
When you look at your paintings, can you tell how you were feeling when you painted it?
Like a painting from years ago or something?
Yeah, if you look at the collection of your work,
Oh yeah.
do you recognize where I was pretty angry when I painted this one?
I guess I know artists talk like about that sort of thing, Aaron, but it doesn't really, I don't really feel that way about my art. And maybe it's subconscious. For me, it really works well when I'm able to get into the zone, and you understand what I'm talking about. When I'm in the zone, I'm not thinking, I'm not monitoring my feelings. I'm in the zone, and the painting, I'm connected with what I'm doing and with whatever source of inspiration is coming through me for that work. So it's a vibe and a zone. So you don't really, I don't really connect it to my emotions that I would have in everyday life interacting with people. You know what I mean? So if I'm having a conversation with somebody and I find it annoying, or very pleasant, right? I don't have that kind of relationship with when I'm painting. Does that make sense?
Right. So it's just you and the paint. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, it's not like my interactions with the world, if that makes sense. And so when I look at a painting from years ago, I'll see that painting and I'll go, oh yeah, I remember that vibe, and I remember that feeling of working in that style with those colors and with that feeling that painting evokes in me and stuff. But it's kind of like me and the painting. It's not like I'm in a bad mood this week and so all my paintings are blue and black. Yeah.
What do you really get out of painting? What does painting give you?
Well, besides the fact that it gives me a fulfilling and rewarding time, a way to spend my time and energy, that's probably the primary thing. And so the fact that I'm able to do that, to paint and really have an amazing lifestyle through that. I mean, I get to paint and I get to travel and I get to meet great people all over the place, and people love what I do and they give me money. So it's beautiful. And one of the main reason I came out west is because I wanted to focus on landscape and Western landscape and mountains and waterfalls and all the beautiful things we have out here. So, I go snowshoeing in the winter and I go hiking in the summer, and that's kind of like the best business trip in the world, right? It's beautiful.
What do you hope you're remembered for? Because we know that art always outlasts the artist. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, a lot of the times it then becomes more valuable than when it ever was when the artist was alive. What do you hope is left behind by your art? What people remember?
I, th- I think it would be pretty cool if I was remembered as a significant Canadian landscape painter of my generation. Um, and and I've had the wonderful privilege of being told that people feel that way about me, which is a nice compliment. Whether that endures to future generations, who knows? But that would be pretty cool.
Do you think you've left behind work that would be on par with the Great Canadian Seven?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Wow, that I sound a little bit bold, but yes. Technically speaking, from a technical point of view, I know my skills are yes, for sure. And I mean, we don't get to decide that stuff, right? And it would be cool, but I don't care if it happens or not. What I really am doing now that matters to me is I'm creating paintings that become an important part of someone else's life, and they really, really love them and enjoy them, and it enhances their environment or their life, and it brings them joy and satisfaction. And that's really, wow, like a privilege and an honor for that to happen for me. And the other thing I try to do as much as I can is help other artists through coaching and mentoring and teaching to help them fulfill their dreams and get the most out of their art careers, or even if it's at the level of a hobby or just for their own pleasure. I like to contribute as much as I can that way. And that brings a positive thing to their lives. So that's all that matters to me. How I'm thought of in the future is not up to me, and I don't really care. As long as I feel that I've contributed to something positive in the world for other people, that's pretty cool to be able to do that through my art. So yeah, I'm happy about that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by.
Oh, absolutely.
So glad to have you here. And thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you again next time.